honk, 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 honk. Funke, Zeppo, Groucho, Barrelli. Inkheart by Cornelia Funke. I'm going to move my mic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, no, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hi. I'm looking right at you, and I'm looking at myself. I'm looking right at you. Happy Thursday. Thursday for all you people that drink water every day, especially on a Thursday. Okay, let's start this. Inkheart. 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 R. Like a pirate. R. Cornelia Funke. Funke. Corneliafunke. Can you guys watch it? I can't. I'm like, you know what? I love you all. Cornelia Funke. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I still love you. Your series is my favorite series to read besides a series of unfortunate events. You're like top 2 together. You're like both the series. Okay, let's get started. Anticipation is stopping now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Oh, sorry. I bumped it. You're not hearing anything but my okay. Inkheart, Cornelia Funke. Translated from the German by Anthea Bell. Yes. For Anna, who even put the Lord of the Rings aside for a while to read this book, could anyone ask me more of a daughter? And for Eleanor, who let me her name, although I did not use it for an elf queen. I'm gonna move it again. I'm moving it up, and then I'm gonna move this. I'm moving. Yes. Okay, now I can see everything. Okay. If you are a dreamer, come in. If you are a wood dreamer, a wisher, a liar, a hoper, a prayer, a magic bean buyer. If you're a pretender, come sit by my fire, for we have some flax golden tales to spin. Come in. Shell Silverstein. Chapter 1. sure it must be very comfortable sleeping with a hard rectangular thing under your head, under your pillow. Her father had teased the first time he found a book under her pillow. Go on, admit it, the book whispers its story to you at night. Yes. Sometimes, yes. I have not read this book in almost 10 years. Right? Yeah. Oh my goodness. Sometimes, yes, Maggie had said, but only works for children. Which made Mo tweak her nose. Mo. Maggie had never called her father anything else. Whoa. That night when so much began and so many things changed forever, Maggie had one of her favorite books under her pillow, and since the rain wouldn't let her sleep, she sat up, rubbed the drowsiness from her eyes, and took it out. Its pages rustled promisingly when she opened. Maggie thought this first whisper sounded a little different from one book to another, depending on whether or not she already knew the story it was going to tell her. But she needed light. She had a box of matches hidden in a drawer of her bedside table. Mo had forbidden her to light candles at night. Oh, he didn't like fire. Fire devours books, he always said. But she was 12 years old. She surely could be trusted to keep an eye on a couple of candle flames. Maggie loved to read by candlelight. She had five candlesticks on the windowsill, and she was just holding the lighted match to one of the black wicks when she heard footsteps. She blew out the match in alarm. How well she remembered it, even many years later. She knelt to look out of the window, which was wet with rain. Then she saw him. The rain cast a kind of pallor on the darkness, and the stranger was little more than a shadow, only his face clean white as he looked up at Maggie. His hair clung to his vest, a wet forehead. The rain was falling on him, but he ignored it. He stood there motionless, arms crossed over his chest, as if that might at least warm him a little. And he kept on staring at the house. I must go and wake Mo, not Maggie. But when she stayed put, her heart thudding, and went on gazing out into the night, as if the stranger's stillness had infected her. Suddenly, he turned his head, and Maggie felt as if he were looking straight into her eyes. She shot off the bed so fast the open book fell to the floor, and she ran barefoot out into the dark corridor. This was the end of the day, but of May. This was the end of May, but it was chilly in the old house. There was still a light in Mo's. There was still a light out in Mo's room. He often stayed up late in the night. Maggie had inherited her love of books from her father. When she took refuge from a bad dream with him, nothing could lure her to sleep better than Mo's calming breath beside her and the sound of the pages turning. And we continue. But to figure out welcomed Maggie down to breakfast with invitingly open pages. They kept boredom at bay when the weather was bad, and sometimes you fell over them. "He's just standing there," whispered Maggie, leading Mo into her room. "Has he got a hairy face? If so, he could be a werewolf." "Oh, stop it." Maggie looked at him sternly, although his jokes made her feel less scared. Already she hardly believed in anyone anymore. She hardly believed anymore in the figure standing in the rain until she knelt down again at the window. "There! Do you see him?" she whispered. Mo looked out through the raindrops running down the pane and said nothing. "Didn't you promise burglars and would never break into our house because there's nothing here to steal?" whispered Maggie. "He's not a burglar," replied Mo. But as he stepped back from the window, his face was so grave that Maggie's heart thudded. Faster than ever. "Go back to bed, Maggie," he said. "This visitor has come to see me." He left the room before Maggie could ask what kind of visitor, for goodness sake, turned up in the middle of the night. She followed him anxiously. As she crept down the corridor, she heard her father taking the chain off the front door, and when she reached the hallway, she saw him standing in the open doorway. The night came in, dark and tepid, rushing off. The rain sounded loud and threatening. "Dustfinger!" "Oh," called Mo into the darkness. "Is that you?" "Dustfinger? What kind of name was that?" Maggie couldn't remember ever hearing it before, yet it sounded familiar, like a distant memory that wouldn't take shape properly. At first, all seemed still outside except for the rain falling, murmuring as if the night had found its voice. But then footsteps approached the house, and the man emerged from the darkness of his yard. His long coat so wet with rain that it clung from his legs. For a split second, as the stranger stepped into the light spilling out of the house, Maggie thought she saw a small furry head over his shoulder, snuffling as it looked out his backpack and then quickly disappeared back into it. Dustfinger wiped his face wet with his sleeve and offered Mo his hand. "How are you, Silver Tongue?" he asked. "It's been a long time." Hesitantly, Mo took the outstretched hand. "A very long time," he said, looking past his visitor as if he expected to see another figure emerge from the night. "Come in, you'll catch your death." Maggie's woof, 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 doggy, 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 woof, 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 woof. "Come in, you'll catch your death." "Maggie says you've been standing out there for some time." "Maggie?" "Ah, yes, of course." Dustfinger let Mo lead him into the house. He scrutinized Maggie so thoroughly she felt quite embarrassed and didn't know where to look. In the end, she just stared back. "She's down. She's grown. You remember?" Of course. I'm going to give Dustfinger a slight accent." And Maggie noticed that Mo double locked the door. How old is he now? How old is she now? Dustfinger smiled at her. It was a strange smile. Maggie couldn't decide whether it was mocking supercilious or just awkward. She didn't smile back. 12, said Mo. 12, my word. Dustfinger pushed his dripping hair back from his forehead. It reached almost to his shoulders. Maggie wondered what color it was when it was dry. The stubble around his narrow-lipped mouth was gingery, like the fur of a stray cat Maggie sometimes fed with a saucer of milk outside the door. Ginger hair sprouted on his cheeks, too, as far as a boy's first beard, but not long enough to hide 3 long pale scars. He made Dustfinger's face look as if it had been smashed and stuck back together again. Wow. 12, he repeated. 12, he repeated. Of course, she was 3 then, wasn't she? Mo nodded. Come on, I'll find you some dry clothes. Impatiently, as if he were suddenly in a hurry to hide the man from Maggie, he led the visitor across the hall. "And Maggie," he said over his shoulder, "you'll go back to sleep." Then, without another word, he closed his workshop door. Maggie stood there rubbing her cold feet together. Go back to sleep. Sometimes when she stayed up late again, yet again, Mo would toss her down on her bed like a bag of walnuts. Sometimes he chased her around the house after supper until she escaped her room, breathless with laughter. And sometimes she was so tired he lay down on the sofa and she made him a cup of coffee before he went to bed. But he never ever sent her off to her room so brusquely. A foreboding, clammy, and fearful came so hard and frightened her that she had never gone to get Mo, and Dustfinger had stayed outside until the rain washed him away. When the door of the workshop opened again, she jumped. Still there, I see, said Mo. Go to bed, Maggie, please. He had a little frown over his nose that appeared only when something was really worrying him. Oh gosh. He seemed to look straight to her as if her thoughts were somewhere else entirely. The foreboding in Maggie's heart grew, spreading black wings. Send him away, Mo. She said as she gently propelled her toward her room. Please, send him away. I don't like him. Mo leaned her in her open doorway. You'll be gone when you get up in the morning. Word of honor. Word of honor. No crossed fingers? Maggie looked him straight in the eye. She could always tell when Mo was lying. However hard he tried to hide her from her. No crossed fingers, he said, holding both hands out to show her. Then he crossed her door, even though she didn't like that. Maggie! Put her ear to it. Listening, she could hear the clink of china. Ding, ding. So the man with the sandy beard was getting a nice cup of tea to warm him up. I hope he catches pneumonia, thought Maggie. Though he needn't necessarily die of it. Maggie heard the kettle whistling in the kitchen and Mo carrying a tray of clattering crockery back to the workshop. When that door closed, she forced herself to wait a few more seconds just to be safe on the just to be on the safe side. Then she crept back out into the hallway. There was a sign hanging out on the door of Mo's workshop. Small metal plaque. Maggie knew the words on it by heart. When she was 5, she had often practiced reading the old-fashioned spangly lettering. Some books should be tasted, some devoured, but only a few should be chewed and digested thoroughly. Back then, when she still had to climb on a box to read the plaque, she had thought the chewing and digesting were meant to literally, and wondered horrified why Mo had hung on his workshop over the words of someone who vandalized books. Now she knew what the plaque really meant, but tonight she wasn't interested in written words, spoken words. Wasn't interested in what were spoken words were what she wanted to hear. The words being exchanged in soft, almost audible whispers by the two men on the other side of the door. Don't underestimate him, she heard Dustfinger say. His voice so different from Mo's. No one else in the world had a voice like her father's. Mo could paint pictures in the empty air with his voice alone. He'd do anything to get a hold of it. That was Dustfinger again. And when I say anything, I can assure you I mean anything. I'd never let him have it. That was Mo. He'll still get his hands on it one way or another. I tell you that on your trail. It wouldn't be the first time. I've always managed to shake them off before. Oh yes. And for how much longer do you think? What about his other? Are you telling me she actually likes moving around the whole time? Believe me, I know what I'm talking about. He was so quiet behind the door that Maggie scarcely dared breathe in case the two men heard her. Finally, her father spoke again, hesitantly, as if his tongue found it difficult to form the words. Then what do you think I ought to do? Come with me, I'll take it to them. A cup clinked, the sound of a spoon against china. How loud, small noises sound in silence. You know how much Capricorn thinks of your talents. He'd be glad if you took him to your own. To him for your own free will, I'm sure he would. The man he found to replace you is useless. Capricorn, another peculiar name. Dustfinger had uttered it as if it were sound might scorch his tongue. Maggie wriggled her chilly toes and wrinkled her old nose. She didn't understand much of what the two men were saying, but she tried to memorize every single word of it. It was quiet again in the workshop. Oh, I don't know, said Mo at last. He sounded so weary it tore at Maggie's heart. I'll have to think about it. When do you think his men will get here? Soon. The word dropped like a stone into the silence. Soon, repeated Mo. Very well. I've made up my mind by tomorrow. Do you have somewhere to sleep? Oh, I can always find a place, replied Dustfinger. I'm managing quite well these days, although it's still all much too fast for me. His laugh was not a happy one. But I'd like to know what you decided. May I come back tomorrow about midday? Yes, of course. I'll be picking Maggie up from school at 1:30. Come after that. Maggie heard a chair being pushed back and scurried back into her room. When the door of the workshop opened, she was just closing her bedroom door behind her. Pulling the covers up to her chin, she lay there listening as her father said goodbye to Dustfinger. And thank you for the warning anyway. She heard him as Dustfinger's footsteps moved away slowly and uncertainly, as if he were reluctant to leave, as if he hadn't said everything he wanted to say. Oh there, oh there. My doggies are waiting for me. They can hear me. Continue. When Mo opened the door of her room, she quickly closed her eyes and tried to breathe as slowly as you do in a deep, innocent sleep. But Mo wasn't stupid. In fact, he sometimes terribly clever. Maggie, put one of your feet out of the bed, he told her. Reluctantly, she stuck her toes out from under the blanket and let them in Mo's warm hand. They were still cold. I knew it, he said. You've been spying. Can't you do as I tell you just for once? Sighing, he tucked her foot back underneath the nice warm blankets. Then he sat down on her bed, passed his hands over his side face, and looked out of the window. His hair was dark as moleskin. Maggie had fair hair like her mother, whom she knew only from a few faded photographs. You should be glad you look more like her than me, Mo always said. My head wouldn't look good at all on a girl's neck. But Maggie, M-E-G-I-G-I-E, when she looked, she did look more like him. There wasn't a face in the world she loved more. I didn't hear what you were saying anyway, she murmured. Good. Mo stared out the window as if Dustfinger was still standing in the yard. Then he rose and went to the door. Try to get some sleep, he said. But Maggie didn't want to sleep. Dustfinger? What sort of name is that? She asked. And why does he call you Silvertongue? Mo did not reply. And this person who's looking for you? I heard what Dustfinger called him. Capricorn. Who is he? No one you want to meet. Her father didn't turn around. I thought you didn't hear anything. Good night, Maggie. This time he left her door open. The light from the hallway fell on her bed, mingling with the darkness of the night that seeped in through the window, and Maggie lay there waiting for the dark to disappear and take her fear from some evil menace away from it. Only later she did understand that the evil had not appeared for the first time that night. It had just slunk back in again. Dun 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 dun. That's chapter 1. Gentle Thems and Ladies. Oh my goodness, chapter 2 is gonna be